Hey everyone, it's me, Jael McLean. I'm in beautiful downtown Lincolnton, North Carolina, and I'm getting ready to do my very first ever podcast, the 2% Podcast. And I get to make history today because it's also Center Stage Productions' very first broadcast. That's me. And I get to have my very special friend and guest, Transformational Trainer Kris Delgado, in the studio with me today. Are you ready? It's about time. Let's go. Come on up. In transformation, when 2% of a population begin to think in more liberated and spiritually open ways, a new level of consciousness will awaken, bringing about a new reality for the total population. Join me, Jael McLean, confidence coach, business owner, musician, health and fitness enthusiast, transformational instigator, and your host of the 2% Podcast, in creating a new reality of spiritual awareness, confidence, and authenticity. Hello, and welcome to the 2% Podcast, your source for empowerment, expansion, and elevation. I'm Jael McLean, your host, and today I'm joined by Kris Delgado, life coach, transformational trainer, and wearer of many hats. Kris, thank you so much for being with me here today.
Thanks for inviting me. This is amazing.
It's come together, and I'm so excited. And very first episode, we're live at Center Stage Studios. Very excited to have the podcast launch here.
Yeah.
So I was able to join you this weekend. You are in North Carolina with us here. You conducted a transformational training this weekend, and I got to experience the power of a live in-person training for the first time. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So how amazing was it to be back in person? First of all, let me just say that. And this is your first podcast episode. This is amazing. I remember the moment you declared it happening. Yeah. So thank you for letting me be your first guest. This is amazing. Yeah. I love what you're up to. Obviously have the same vision for the world as you. And so I really am honored to be on here as your first guest. So thank you for that. The reason I'm up in North Carolina is the work of transformation. I work for a few training companies, and we had the honor of coming up and doing the second part of a 3-part curriculum. And, you know, the work speaks for itself. It's transformational. We have a 5-day, really intense experiential training. We have students come in on a Wednesday and give them exercises and tools to expand their consciousness by Sunday. And judging by the results, I think we had that happen. So I couldn't be happier. Yeah,
and I want to acknowledge everyone that took part in the training and supported. It was absolutely incredible. I was there Saturday, and it's truly life-changing, transformational work. And once I got in it, I decided this is where I want to be, and this is the space that I want to continue to operate and live in.
Yeah, you know, the company I was working for this weekend specifically is called Redesign. They're out of North Carolina, and they are committed to creating community and, you know, ironically, the 2%, which is the name of this podcast, you know, and having a shift in consciousness. And so it was really amazing. You know, it takes an entire community to pull this type of stuff off, and they do it beautifully.
Yeah. And what's been incredible, so this is the first in-person training since the pandemic had hit.
Yeah.
And Healing Angels organization out of North Carolina were so committed to these trainings continuing during that pandemic. They got together with you and your other side company, to redesign the program and rewrite it so that it could be done virtually. Yeah. So if you're at home, please know that these trainings are available to you wherever you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, again, you know, these trainings are all about leadership, all about transformation and learning how to create high-performance teams. So they do it beautifully. When the pandemic hit, the last training I did in person was March of 2020. And, you know, I really can't say enough about the company. They when the pandemic hit and everything shut down, we are a company that builds up teams. That was really hard during the pandemic. So they reached out to me and a few of my colleagues, and they were still committed to having this happen. They're impactful trainings, and, the pandemic wasn't going to slow us down. We just needed to figure out how to reinvent and redesign ourselves to have it happen. And in the face of that, a lot of other people didn't want to see that happen. They wanted to put it on pause because of how powerful these trainings are. And so luckily enough, they asked me to team up with them and figure it out. And we did, despite being, shunned by some other training companies that were out there. And now here we are, and the virtual trainings are just as powerful as the in-person trainings, and we figured it out. And that really speaks to not only their commitment, but the commitment that we all had for this work of transformation and really stepping into a world of creating world peace in my lifetime. And I know that that's a big topic, and that's a big task to take on, and we're here for it.
Yeah, and it's a testament of these trainings are showing people what's possible and that anything is possible.
Yeah.
And so then to recreate the program and stay true to that belief, true to the teaching, it's a testament that literally anything is possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you so much for the work that you do and the trainer that you are. The reason that I wanted to have you on today is to discuss what we're seeing in the world, what's being reflected back at us, and how we can start living into the world that we want to create and the world that we want to see happen. So my experience in the world right now is that there is a lot of division, there's separation, there's fear and scarcity.
Yeah.
There's a mentality that in order for me to have, I have to make sure that someone else, or in order for me to win, someone else has to lose.
Yeah.
Or I can't give freely because there won't be enough. And so there's a fear and scarcity and a not enough mentality that I experience running rampant out there. And the work that we want to do is to create abundance and gratitude. There's more than enough for everyone.
Absolutely. I 100% believe that. And I think that in order to have that, we just get to step into, a growth mindset. We get to stop looking outside of us and blaming other people and start looking at what we are the cause of.
And so, and that's one of the most valuable lessons I had last year, was realizing that everything that's out there is a reflection of me, that I can be accountable for everything that's happening out in the world right now. Everything that I see that I don't like, that I'm not in alignment with, that makes me sad. How am I the source for these things to be showing up? And the big lesson was, when I heal myself, I create healing out in the world.
Yeah.
And that's really creating the 2% of impacting 2% of the population out there. That will lead us to the next quantum shift, or the next critical mass shift in the overall consciousness. And that will bring about change in the world. And so my journey this last year has been healing myself so that I can be the source for healing to take place in the world.
Yeah. I mean, we all probably know the Gandhi quote, "Be the change you want to see in the world." Yeah. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's a simple concept that if everyone really started to step into or embody, if you don't like something going on out there in the world, you don't like something going on in your family, it's up to you to figure out how to change it or how to shift. And, I 100% believe that it's possible, and people just don't want to do it because it doesn't feel good. We all want leaders. We all don't like the leaders that are out there And yet most people don't want to step up and take on a leadership role because they're comfortable just pointing fingers and complaining about what's going on. And that's not going to have any real lasting change. Like, we get to step up and we get to be the leaders in our families, in our communities, and ultimately in the world.
Yeah, and I also experienced there being a lot of resignation that I don't care because it's not impacting me. I don't care about racism because I'm this color. I don't care about LGBT issues because I'm not LGBTQ. And so on and so forth. And there is a downgrading and degrading of people happening in the world, and really being a stand.
Yeah.
And not being resigned because it doesn't impact me. You know, don't help other countries because we need to take care of ourselves first. It all matters. It all matters. It's bigger than myself. And like I said, if I can create healing and create impact, if I begin to love others in a way that I love and care for myself, then change will start to happen. And envisioning the world that we want to create. Betty Sproul, I just listened to a quote from her last night that was very impactful, said, begin to invent or envision the world that we want to create, and then begin to live that life, and that new world will happen. Begin to live the life you want to create, and that world will happen.
Yeah.
That was so powerful for me last night. It just, this stuff feels so good.
I mean, ultimately, what I do the trainings for, what I do coaching for, everything that I do, ultimately is to have people really understand on a deep level, that they are significant enough to have the lives that they want, so that they can be happy and then go create. I think when people finally get their significance and they step into authentic happiness, they automatically want to spread that. Yeah. So it's about talking. Yes, we do group trainings, but it's about having every single person in the training understand that what they say matters, how they act matters, how they show up to other people matters, and that, yes, there's so much stuff that happens to us when we grow up, and unfortunately the world is the way it is, and people abuse other people, whether that's emotionally, mentally, physically, verbally, spiritually. That happens in the world, and those things don't have to be the circumstances that hold you down from having the life that you want to create. And there are ways to heal from that stuff. Trauma is going to happen. We have global traumas happening all the time. So if we're experiencing that stuff together, then why not start healing together?
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We'll be back after these messages.
Guitar Wishes, where dreams with strings come true. The area's largest guitar shop and NAMM Top 100 winner, Guitar Wishes of Lincoln. We carry your favorite Gibson, Fender, Martin, Taylor, and Epiphone instruments. We're an authorized Music Man, Sterling Vintage, and Yamaha dealer.
Welcome back from the break. We're on the 2% podcast with Kris Delgado. Kris, excellent point. You hit it on home. So we want to heal together. So how do we do that?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that. So I really want people to understand that we can all do this. This doesn't just happen to people that make a certain amount of money or have certain kinds of jobs. Everyone can do this work of transformation and step into leadership, whatever that looks like for anyone. I think one of the best tools that I give my students in in any setting, whether I'm just coaching them one-on-one or group coaching or group trainings, whatever it is we have a distinction, and it's like my favorite one of all time. It's be, do, have, which breaking that down is think about the results that you want to have, whether that's a certain amount of money you want to create, or I want to have a 10 relationship, or I just want to have a better relationship with my kids or my partner, or I want to go to get a job that I love. Figure out the result that you want to have, and then you work backwards. Figure out who you get to be to have that. Like, I get to be more loving with my kids or my partner. I get to be powerful and go in and ask for a raise. I get to be passionate. Like, figure out how you get to be, what you get to embody. Could be vulnerability. It could be being bold, whatever it is for you. And then you figure out the actions that you need to take. So it starts with the beingness. Who do I get to be? Then what action steps do I get to take in order to have the result I want? And again, I'm a big fan of keeping things simple, because I've always heard a confused mind says no. An overwhelmed mind says no. So the harder we make it, or the more complicated we make it as human beings, the more we're going to just shut down or say no to those things, or I don't know how. So if a confused mind says no, it makes sense to me that a very simplistic, simple way of communicating will have your mind understand it and then be a yes to it.
Yeah. It's a very simple concept: be, do, and have. And yet, if you're anything like me, I was wired to be a doer, and I want to do, to have, and then feel like, okay, if I do enough, then I'll have what I want. And then I'll be the thing. I'll be the millionaire. I'll be the business owner.
Yeah.
I'll be.
And it's very common.
And that's what's out there too in the world.
It's super common for people to think that. And I think most of us grow up that way because of, I don't know, the media we watch, the movies we watch, all of this, the way that we grew up, the other people that we see. And it's actually backwards. And it's exactly what you said. People think, once I have the $1 million, then I'll be happy. And so here's the life hack is, if you know you'll be happy if you have $1 million, be happy while you're doing the things you need to have the $1 million. Oh. And then even if you don't have the $1 million, you're still being happy. Then it doesn't even really matter what the result is, because at the end of the day, it matters who you're being and how you show up for yourself first, and then your friends and family, the people that you love.
I really understood this once I stepped into my confidence last year, and I was able to generate a different result. Instead of where I would typically walk in not confident or make myself small and go, yes, today, I was able to realize, like, oh, in order to generate the powerful results that I want, I get to step into this confidence first. I get to walk into the room big. I get to speak clearly, concisely, directly on my Zoom calls, my work calls, my conference calls. And I exude the confidence first, and it completely changed the reactions, the responses, even the questions that I would get asked became less. Yeah. It was like, oh, wow, being confident first yielded completely different results rather than the mindset, I would go into blaming others that, oh, my boss doesn't listen to me, and, oh, they don't like my ideas, and my ideas aren't good enough. I would get into all of those conversations without that ownership piece as well, that, well, of course they're not confident in me because I don't sound powerful. I don't sound confident. So they're going to ask questions. They're going to question, this tiny little mouse voice. Oh, I think, this project's going well.
Right. Goes back to it goes back to the Gandhi quote. Not that this podcast is all about Gandhi. The Gandhi quote, but it really goes back to it. If you want people to respect you, you have to respect yourself. If you want people to see you as a confident, powerful woman, you get to be confident and powerful.
Yeah.
You know, and it really just starts with you. The easiest tool, because I'm assuming everything I do in life, I want to give people tools to take away. So an easy takeaway, besides the be, do, have, is look at people that you admire. Like whether it's Oprah, whether it's Tony Robbins, Brene Brown, whoever it is that you really respect and admire, and then start dissecting them from a space of how is Oprah being? How is Brene Brown being? Vulnerable, excited, loving, whatever they are for you. Then start stepping into those things, and then also look at what they're doing. Okay, Brene Brown, she's writing another book, or she's doing a talk, or she's communicating to people in a way that have them understand what she's trying to communicate. Okay, so I get to start doing that. If that's the result I want, then I get to start doing the things that I see people who have the result I want do and be.
And I realized, I realized also that, I was the doing first.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, once I do enough and I get a good result, then I'll be confident.
Yeah.
Then I'll have the thing. And I realized that action, if I'm not in that beingness, the actions that I take thereafter, that's what's not working, because it's that source and it's that beingness that takes place first that then allows me to click into my flow, where I will now I know the correct action to take. I know what's going to be effective. And action without the beingness is it's not going to generate the result.
It's a glorified to-do list.
Yeah.
Basically, it's and there's nothing wrong with to-do lists, but you're only going to get it done when you feel like doing it. Here's the stuff on my to-do list, and I didn't get to that today. I don't feel like it anymore. I'll just add it to my to-do list tomorrow. And then you're just kicking the can down the road and not having anything happen, which then, I could talk about all of this stuff all day long, because then we could get into being vision driven versus feelings driven. And going back to like Brene Brown or Oprah or Tony Robbins, they also don't let their feelings get in the way. They let their commitment lead them, or what they want to do lead them. Like, I'm sure, I don't know how long Oprah ran her talk show, but it was like 20 years or something. I'm pretty sure there were days she probably didn't want to film and didn't want to get out of bed and just wanted a day off. And she let her commitment outshine the feeling of not wanting to do that, which, again, in this society, and I'm guilty of it too. There are some days where I absolutely do not want to get out of bed, or I don't feel like doing something that I committed to. And, if we're talking about leadership and transformation and all of that, leaders keep their commitments. They don't let their feelings drive the bus. They let their commitments drive the bus. So that's all of these tools. Consistency is a huge thing for people. Like, when you start getting some results and then you back off, all of these things, it's like a big puzzle piece, and you get to start practicing each puzzle piece and then watch it all start making sense. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Incredible. So along with Be, Do, Have, what are some other tools that I can begin to practice? Anyone at home, anyone that's watching can begin to practice. So you have your vision for the world that you want to live in. What else can I do to create, or who can I be to create?
So I'm going to go into some doingness, which is funny. So once you are really clear on the result that you want to have, then I'm a really big fan of putting reminders everywhere. If you want to create a 6-figure income or a 7-figure income, or you want to create a 10 relationship with your partner, or you want to create a 10 relationship with your kids, or whatever it is, you want to lose weight or you want to gain weight or whatever it is that you want, then put reminders around so it's always reminding you. Put it on your bathroom mirror, put it in your car, put it on the refrigerator, put it everywhere. Have alarms go off on your phone because we get to start practicing and getting in a habit. And then once you can start forming that habit and you stop thinking about it, every time your alarm goes off, do the jumping jacks, or every time your alarm goes off, text your partner, I love you, whatever it is. And then you don't have to think about it. Every time the alarm goes off, you just go into action. You just start creating those habits. And it works whether it's loving your kids more or creating a 7-figure income.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that we all can do. If you don't have a smartphone and you don't have alarms, write it down on Post-it notes and put it all over your place. Like, have it be in your face so you are always remembering that this is what I want to do. This is what I want to have happen, so I get to have it happen. Otherwise, we forget because our ego doesn't want us to remember.
Yeah.
So
per your program, I also have 3 alarms on my phone 3 times a day.
Yes.
That are my beingness and alarms. And I have those like 9, 3, and 6 o'clock. I want an interruption, basically. When my phone goes off, it's an interruption, whatever I'm doing, for me to step back and look at who am I being in this moment. And that's been so effective to create an interruption where I might be driving and pissed at traffic or, and it's an interruption for any type of negative energy or emotion that's not serving. It's not purposeful for, and not congruent for what I want to create in the world.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. How you show up, your attitude, your beliefs, the words that come out of your mouth, everything gets to be congruent and in line with what you say you want to have happen. So again, like if you say you want to have a 6-pack, which I don't, but if that's something that you want to, or you want to be a certain weight, then you have all of your arrows point in that direction. You stop eating ice cream every single night, or you start doing the things that make sense, and you stop doing the things that make sense that are all congruent with the result that you want to have. Again, whether it's losing weight, loving your kids, if I want a 10 relationship with my son, I'm going to have a conversation with him as opposed to like just yelling at him and saying, I'm your mom, that's why, or whatever, so having your thoughts, your actions, the words coming out of your mouth, and your beliefs all be congruent. You get to believe that you can create a 7-figure income if that's what you want to do. If you're trying to do all of the steps, but you don't believe that that's ever going to happen because you have a belief that like money's hard to make, or money
is the root of all evil.
Exactly. So if that's a belief that you have, then you're not going to make the money that you say you want. So you have to have thoughts, actions, words, attitudes, behaviors all line up.
Yeah. And then taking it back to like the bigger vision for the world, I want to see inclusion. I want to see diversity. I want to see respect and love for all people, acknowledgement of all people. And so I get to look at, where am I not inclusive?
Yeah.
Where am I not a supporter and promoter for diversity? Where have I not respected someone because of a difference in views or beliefs?
Absolutely.
And it's really doing the work as an individual that then that energy goes out into the world, and that self-healing that starts in me and in us individually that will create change.
That's why I keep saying it's simple. Figure out what you want to do. If we're talking about having the world that you want to live on, and we want to expand it into a world level, figure out how you want the world to be. Not what you don't want in the world, what you actually want in the world.
Yeah.
So for me, my big things are I want to see love and kindness. So that means that I get to be kind and I get to be loving in all situations. Now, I'm human, and that doesn't always happen. If somebody cuts me off in traffic, like usually I'm not like sending loving and kind vibes at first, But when I realize that my actions are not congruent with what I say I want, love and kindness in this example, then as soon as I realize it, I don't beat myself up. I just simply go, oh, that's not what I'm trying to create right
That's
now,
not
Kris.
what I'm up to.
So I'm not beating myself up. I'm having grace, like I give myself grace. And then I shift right back, or I step right back into being loving and kind. And that means for everyone. That means, if the person that's pumping gas next to me, that means the person at the, Trader Joe's that's the checkout person at Trader Joe's. Like, there's nothing wrong with smiling and creating love and kindness in the world. That's what I want to see in the world. So that's who I get to be all the time. When I'm not being it, because I'm human, I also then understand, like, I'm human and I'm having a human moment, and
if forgiveness gets to happen. Grace, compassion, all of those things we get to have for ourselves as well, because we're not going to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfection, but I can do everything to the best of my ability. Yeah, and to be committed to my vision.
Yeah.
And to bring it back always.
Absolutely.
Kris, it was awesome to have you on the 2% podcast.
Listen, I love it. Thank you again. Like, your first podcast, I cannot wait to see what you create with this, because you're an amazing human being and I know what you're up to on this planet. And, so we get to be partners in transformation and do this work together. So anytime, have me back.
And I want to invite you to check out KrisDelgado.com. Also, Kris's podcast, the Embodying Greatness podcast. And if you like this episode, stick around for future episodes.